the reasons why they stopped me are the same reasons that people that look like you and I are being stopped and harassed all over this country. It's not a new thing. It didn't start when George Floyd was murdered and all the TV cameras were on that subject. It started hundreds of years ago. Unfortunately, it continues on to this day.
Hey guys, my name is Nikki Renfro. I'm a recently retired state trooper, and I decided to start a podcast, Safe Nation Podcast. We're covering safety, security, and law enforcement.
Good. Yeah. So, like I told you before, AJ, for me, this is kind of casual. This is kind of casual and fun. So we'll chit chat about what you got going on. Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
yeah, so I'm excited for this conversation. I've been wanting to have this conversation with you about all of the things that you're doing. You're doing so much. And so you taking the time to spend with me and let the world know what you've got going on is amazing. But AJ Ali, the director, the film producer, the author, you name it. I think I saw Lifetime Presidential Award honoree. Just amazing stuff. Activist, let's throw that part in. And so much more that you're doing. And I would probably add in bridge builder as well. Bridge builder among people. And so just a wonderful spirit. And I'm honored to have you here on Safe Nation. AJ, tell me a little bit about who you are, AJ the man, and then I want to get into your film project and get into so many other things that you have going on.
Well, Nikki, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Safe Nation, I love the title of the podcast, and I love the work that you're doing. We really have to band together to make this nation really all that it can be. All that it promises to be. It's in our hands, right? To make the nation safer and stronger. AJ Ali, the man, huh? I'll start with dutiful son, husband, father, grandfather, friend. I try to just love on people everywhere that I go. And I grew up in a household that had some of that, but there was also a lot of domestic violence, a lot of darkness. I was in the military, served in the United States Air Force, served at a nuclear missile base. I'm a 61-year-old black man in America who has experienced racism every decade of my life. I've had death threats, for wanting to make a film that was going to make things better, and people didn't like that. So I've experienced the best and the worst that this country has to offer, and because I've experienced both of those things, the best and the worst, in my household, growing up as a kid, all the way through adulthood, I try to seek out the best. I try to bring out the best in myself. I try to bring out the best in other people. I try to help people learn how to love themselves. I'm a student of that, myself. For 61 years, I've been trying to figure out what is this thing called life, and how do we live it to the fullest. So me in a nutshell is just a man trying to make the world a better place by loving on people that I meet. That's who I am.
I love that. I love that description of yourself. And has it always been so loving, and has everything always been lovey-dovey for you?
No.
No.
No. And
I was going to say that whole mindset, it to me, it seems like you would have to transform into that, and some things would have to happen to push you toward that. I want to know about your story in terms of the film. You have a film called Walking While Black. It's a documentary. And this film talks about racism, racial profiling, what it is to be a black man just walking down the street in America. And I want to know how it came to be. What compelled you to write this?
yeah, absolutely. So the first thing you said about, has it always been lovey-dovey, right? It's not that way today. I struggle every single day with with, there's a story about everybody has two wolves inside of them, right? And one wolf is just trying to do whatever harm, right? The other wolf is trying to do good. And the storyline is basically which wolf wins, and it's the one that you feed. That's the one
Uh-huh.
that wins. And so, I mentioned growing up in a household filled with domestic violence, where my I thought I was going to die every day of my childhood. Um, my father was very good at making money, but had a lot of evil inside of him, and that was that old saying, hurt people. Well, he had been abused, and so there was abuse that he was dishing out to my mother, my siblings, and myself. And so I experienced all of that, and it was like hell on earth. And so I learned from my mother what love was all about, a glimpse of heaven, if you will. I learned from my father what hate was all about, a glimpse of hell. And so that was, you talk about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. There are 10 of them. I've got 7 out of 10. Okay.
Mm.
If I think they say if you have 5 or 6, then you're probably going to have some issues throughout life, right? I got 7
Mhm.
out of 10 strong, right? And so um, I choose love, but also inside of me, there's that other wolf that every day I've got to fight against to suppress, which is a desire to lash out, a
Mhm.
desire to hurt people that hurt me. And I was that guy at one point in my life. My life has never been, that lovey-dovey, everything's cool, so I go heavy on the aloha, I go heavy on that. Hawaii, that's a whole nother, I could talk for hours about just how Hawaii since the age of 9 has been transformative in my life. The principles of aloha, which means love and hello and goodbye and so many other things. Ho'oponopono, which is a prayer of forgiveness, and ohana, which means family, right? Means that not just blood family, but Nikki, you are my family. You are my ohana, right? So I go heavy on those things in my life and in my work because that helps to feed that wolf inside of me that is good and kind and loving and caring, and it suppresses that other wolf that wants to come out. I am my father's son, and I am my mother's son. And for a long time in my life, I thought that love was a weakness. I thought that
Mhm.
to be kind to people meant that you were going to get trampled on. And I think that a lot of other people, and I'm saying this because I've met a lot of other people who are stuck in that space, especially military and former military like myself, and people in law enforcement, where there are cultures that promote being tough, right? Being maybe tougher than you should be. That says, hey, suppress all that kindness and all that empathy and all that other stuff because that stuff is weak. That stuff will get you killed. The
Mhm.
reality I found, Nikki, is that empathy and all those other things that go along with it are superpowers.
Mhm.
They can not only help keep you alive, but also help your mental health and your emotional intelligence and your emotional health, and keep it so that you're more balanced.
Right.
You don't lose your edge. You can still get the job done when you need to, but then you don't lose your humanity. And so for me,
Right.
it was so important because I was trying that other way and it wasn't working for me. I was hurting myself and I was hurting other people everywhere I went. So when I flipped that switch of okay, I'm gonna love no matter what, and I did that in 2014, everything since then, the past decade of my life has been the most incredible decade of my life. And I'm starting to finally figure out, I'm still working on it. I'm starting to finally figure out what this thing called life is all about and how much power you can truly have as a human being when you tap into that side of things, that loving, empathetic, socially responsible side. It does not make you weaker, it makes you stronger. And so yeah, I'm gonna stick with that as long as I'm here because it is working. It is working.
So AJ, when it came to you, when that switch flipped for you, where were you in your life? Were you still in the military, or what were you doing? What kind of work were you doing at the time?
Yeah, no, I got out of the military in my 20s. So I was in 83, got out in 87. How that came about was I was 2.5 years into making the film Walking While Black. Love is the answer. And at that time, I was getting death threats from police for wanting to make a film about police brutality. And I had spent 2.5 years of darkness. 2012, summer of 2012, I was just going about my day, taking a walk in my own community, and I got stopped by, at that time, a 26-year-old white male officer who thought I was walking in the wrong neighborhood. In fact, after accusing me of breaking into homes, there had been no break-ins in any homes in that neighborhood that day, that week, or for several weeks at least. So I wasn't breaking into homes. He threatened me with arrest. He threatened to confiscate all my belongings. When I finally questioned him about why he made the stop, he fessed up. He said, because we're stopping anyone who looks like they're not from this neighborhood. I'm stopping
Oh man.
anyone who looks like they're not from this neighborhood. Those were his exact words. And so
Mm-hmm.
one officer turned into three shortly thereafter. And when the other two officers showed up, they showed up looking to cause harm. Because I had left the first officer after he finally let me go. And when they came back, the first and the other two, they were rushing towards me to take me down. And I said, my attorney's on speakerphone. He hears everything. And they stopped dead in their tracks.
So
And
you had your attorney on the phone. You just happened to have your attorney on the phone
I,
at what?
I called my attorney as soon as I left the first officer because just a few months earlier, I had experienced another racial profiling stop, this time while driving. And so when I called him, I said, man, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me. This happened to me again. He said, just get out of there as quickly as you can. I'll stay on the phone with you as long as you need me to. And I thank God every day that I did because these guys, when um, they showed up wanting to prove a point, you know. And when I
Mm-hmm.
said that and they stopped, then that kind of confirmed it for me because if I had really been doing anything bad, that wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have stopped them, you know. Um,
No. But
and
AJ, on the when you got stopped, okay, the first time you said was in a car,
mhm,
like on a traffic stop.
yeah,
What was that? What was that about? And how did it end? And was it the same officer that stopped you while you were walking?
no, no, different officer. But let me say this before I get into that part of the story. I have forgiven all of them. I've
Okay.
forgiven them a long time ago, and I've got no ill will towards them or
Hmm.
anyone from that police department. So that stop a few months earlier was actually by a young black officer, and
Hmm.
he had his car and pulled me over. And I noticed when he pulled me over and he made me get out of the car, I looked behind us, and about 100 yards away, there was another car with two white officers. And he told me that I had broken three or four laws, and I knew I hadn't. And so he wrote me up. He arrested me on the side of the road, and then he let me go on my own recognizance with a report to court thing. I called my attorney, same attorney. He made one phone call, got all the charges thrown out, and said he got the officer reprimanded. So that's what happened a few months earlier, and the what I surmised from that is that he had been either told to do that or he did it, and he had the other guys looking over his shoulder, making sure that he was doing what he was supposed to be doing according to that culture of that police department, Howard County Police Department at the time, 2012. It has changed a lot since then. There's still work to be done, but there's a lot of good
Mhm.
people over there that are trying to do the right thing, and we work with them now. So fast forward to today, we're trying to help them and many other police departments around the country to improve their cultures, not only for the people that they serve, but
Mhm.
for them as well, because I've realized in all my research and all my work around the country since then, 12 years of it, that again, going back to what my father, hurt people hurt people. Well,
Mhm.
if you're working in a culture that is hurting you, that is not caring for your mental health or your emotional health, not building into your emotional intelligence, a culture that might be toxic in so many ways, toxic masculinity, racism, and other things, then you're going to hurt people. It's only natural. And so, I've found that the reasons why they stop me are the same reasons that people that look like you and I are being stopped and harassed all over this country. It's not a new thing. It didn't start when George Floyd was murdered and all the TV cameras were on that subject. It started hundreds of years ago. Unfortunately, it continues on to this day. But I don't believe that the problem has to be with us forever. I believe we can change all that. I believe there's a lot of great people in law enforcement. You were one of them. I believe that there are a lot of people that are trying to do the right thing. I believe it's a noble profession. Um, Ironically, Noble is a great organization, right? National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, which I'm a member of now. I believe that we need to help each other. Cops need to love on community members, and I get a whole lot of pushback when I say this, but community members need to love on cops. We need to be supportive because the system itself is causing people to do things that are not in their best interests. And
What did it take for you to get from your encounter while you were walking to the point to where you're now working with police organizations? There's a lot, I'm sure, that had to happen in that span of time, because when that incident happened with you while you were walking, I'm sure you filed a complaint. And then you've even talked about how you were harassed when you came up with the idea to make the film. So what happened during that time? I don't want to leave this part out. I think this part is important too. What effect was it having on you, and what was happening during that time?
well, I mentioned 2.5 years of darkness, right, from 2012 until 2014. And so during that time, I was about as angry as it gets. All right. I was a one man Black Lives Matter movement before Black Lives Matter movement began. All right. So I was just, first of all, when I reported it to the Internal Affairs Office, which you're supposed to do when you think you've been wronged, every department has internal affairs. I reported it to the NAACP and I reported it to the Howard County Human Rights Office. When that happened, I started to get followed and stopped on numerous occasions. I had notes left on my car. When I when people found out that I was going to make a movie about all that stuff happening to not only me but people all over the country, I started to get threats from police. And so I could
Like
not,
what? Give me an example. What kind of threats?
you're going to die if you keep this up. That kind
Oh,
of
that's
thing.
pretty blunt. That's pretty straightforward. That's a real threat.
Yeah. And so I didn't go to the police because I was getting threatened by the police and I didn't trust anybody.
Mhm.
During that same time period, they started to follow and stop my wife. And that's when it got real for me
Mhm.
because I felt like, okay, if they want to mess with me, I can handle that. I've been through this, you know. I had experienced racial profiling and harassment from police since the age of 16. So it wasn't a shock to me. But when they started to harass her, that's when I thought, okay, maybe, we're in a little trouble here. So I went through a 2.5 year period of complete darkness. I was angry. I was afraid at times. I was frustrated. I didn't know where to turn, how to get help. Nobody seemed to care. Um, there were times when I thought after they started to stop her that maybe I should go after them before they really came for us. I had all those thoughts. Um,
Mhm.
it was not a good time. I At that time also I was carrying around PTSD that I had not been diagnosed for. So I didn't go to the VA until 2018. I got out of the service in 1987. So for all those
Mm.
years, I was carrying around depression, anxiety, PTSD, and other issues, mental and physical. By the time I went to the VA, it took them no time to do all these diagnoses and take me from 10% disabled to 100% disabled, including
Mhm.
all those things, right? So I was dealing with all that by myself during that time. And it was a miracle that I didn't hurt someone during that time because there were times that I wanted to. There was no sense of regret on their part. There was no apology. There was no promise to do better. And I asked for all those things, and none of those things happened. So, what was the turning point? I had
Mhm.
gone on a what's called a walkabout in Australia. In 2014, I decided I'm going to get at least part of my life back. I love to golf. I love to travel. So I went on the road trip. I went on a road trip and I golfed in all 50 states in 101 days. And
Wow.
and I wrote about the journey. I wrote about all my experiences on the road. I am a writer, so I had publishers that were publishing my stories as I went. Golf Now and some other places were publishing my stories, and I had a great time. But the most important thing was that I met so many people along the way who were struggling with different things in their life, and some of them, had to do with things that I was going through, and some were totally different. And I started to build this kind of camaraderie with people all over the country at the time that I needed it most. And by the time I got to Hawaii on my 51st birthday in the waters of Kailua Beach, I just felt this overwhelming sense of aloha spirit. It's the only thing I can, call it, where I felt in my heart, and it was almost like audible words, where I heard, if you want to change anything in this world, you got to do it with love. And the words that came to me that really sealed the deal for me were the words of my brother Abby, who passed away in 1998. He had battled cancer for 13 years, and on his deathbed, the final words he said, he whispered into my ears, "Love is the answer." Now, this is a guy who died at 48 years old, who the first half of his life, he had spent those years in trouble. He was the protector of the family to stand between my father and the rest of us. So he took the brunt of the physical abuse when my father wasn't beating my mother. He stood in the gap. He was a protector. He was our guardian. And so he turned all that trauma and turned it into drug dealing and other things. He really, did a lot of things that he regretted later. He spent time in jail. He spent time in prison. Um, he took lives. Um, it was a miracle that he made it to the age of 25. Well,
Mm.
his last time in prison, some people showed him so much love, people that had come in on prison ministry, and that he turned his life over to Christ.
Mhm.
He turned his life completely around, and the second half of his life was absolutely glorious. No one would hire him because of his record, so he started a painting contracting company. And before you knew it, he was painting for the luminaries of DC, and he had incredible clients all over town. When he died, the church was overflowing with people who were talking about how he helped them, people that I'd never met. So my brother Abby, when he passed and he whispered those words in 1998, I carried those words around with me, but it didn't really impact me deeply, profoundly until September 25th, 2014, in the waters of Kailua Beach, when it was like I heard his voice. When those words came back to me in a powerful way, so much so that on that day, I told God, God, from this moment on, first of all, I forgive all those cops. And from this moment on, I'm going to love them and I'm going to help them learn how to love others. And not just them, but every single peace officer that I meet. And I say peace officer for a reason, because in the truest sense of the word, that is the heart of a cop, a peace officer, to that noble profession, right? And so I made a pledge on that beach that day that I have kept. Uh, it's 2024, the end of 2024. I've kept that pledge for 10 years and counting. That was the turning point. That's when the film Walking While Black became Walking While Black. Love is the answer. And that's when we created the LOVE acronym to give it weight, to make that word love something that people can do as a series of action steps. Learn about people, open your heart to their needs, volunteer to be part of the solution in their lives, and empower others to do the same. For the past 10 years, I've been teaching people those love is the answer principles. And every day I start by trying to learn a little bit more myself, so
Mhm.
that I can, because it's like I said, it's a struggle for me every day as well. But at the end of the day, you got to make a choice. Who are you going to be as a person, right? I choose love, and I'm doing everything I can to help other people realize that they have that choice as well, and then give them the tools that they need to be able to live out their lives with love.
That's a beautiful story. Um, excuse me. For your brother to leave those words with you is one thing, but for you to take those words and make something out of it, take action steps, that's what it's all about. That's what it takes in order to affect change. And you found a way to do that. You have so many resources. What you're doing with training workshops, what you're doing with books, what you're doing with your film, like all of it is centered around love. So tell me about some of those resources and how people can hear more about love truly being the answer.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So our website, first of all, is trylovenow.com. And we chose that website name for the Love is the Answer movement because simply people are trying everything else but love.
That's
They're
the truth.
right.
That's
They're
true.
looking for love in all the wrong places, right?
Yes.
So,
Hmm.
so we just simply say, try love now. If you've tried everything else, try love now. So at that website, people can see where yes, we have the film that people can rent for personal use, or they can license it for their organization and do community screenings. The film really is about, it's not, first 10, 15 minutes, it shows police brutality, it shows profiling and stuff like that, because you have to give the truth before you can get to reconciliation, right?
Hmm.
We know that's happening. We just show it. But the rest of that 90-minute film is all about carrying people through those four steps. And the beauty of the film is that it's not just me talking for 90 minutes. We interviewed dozens of people that are in that film, and half of them are peace officers, or maybe their father or mother was a peace officer. So
Mhm.
it has a really well-rounded cast, and the message is hard, but it's also very, very positive and uplifting, and it gives people a roadmap for how to be. So that's one thing. The film.
Well, who's that geared toward? What's the target audience for the film?
We like to say high school and up, but parents have brought their middle school kids or even elementary school kids to some of the screenings, and they did just fine. But really, it's for high school and up. And we've licensed the film to a lot of high schools and colleges, and it plays beautifully there. And I love showing the film at high schools and colleges. Because the responses that we get and the questions that are asked and the answers that are given and the sharing that they do there, for some of them it's the first time they've ever felt comfortable sharing what has happened to them. A lot of times these kids are carrying around trauma that they have gotten from being stopped or being followed or being pulled over for no reason other than the color of their skin, and they don't have an outlet for what they're feeling. And so we have had instances where we've had kids come into a screening and tell me that they've hated police their entire life. And one kid in particular, I'll never forget this, in Compton. There were two things that happened at that screening at a high school. A 6'6" white cop came up to me and apologized with tears in his eyes, saying that he had been wrong for the way he had been policing that community. And he pledged to me that he was going to do it better and become a better man, a better peace officer. At that same screening, a 16-year-old black boy came up to me and told me that he had hated police his entire life because of how he had been treated by them. But that day, he pledged to become a cop so that he could make things better. All right.
Wow, talk about a turnaround.
Isn't that beautiful?
Good grief. That's wonderful.
So
That's
that's the kind
great.
of, yeah, that's the kind of response we're getting from that film. That's the kind of power that it has. And I encourage police all over the country, including the Howard County PD, where it all started. And thankfully,
Mhm.
December 10th, we had the deputy chief, Terrence Ben, come out and be on the panel right next to me and share with college students and others in the community. And it was a beautiful thing. I encourage police all over the country to use that film as a way to get the community members to open up.
Mhm.
The International Association of Chiefs of Police has a trust building campaign going on now. And from what I understand, maybe 10% of police departments have signed on to it, maybe less than that.
Now you do some work with that organization, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a member. I serve on the crime prevention committee. I've got some dear friends inside the organization. I love it. It was not an easy choice to go to the first IACP conference that I went to. Um, I had a lot of encouragement from former Chief Jackie Seabrooks and former Chief Cindy Renault. Both of them were chiefs at Santa Monica PD, and Cindy went on to become the president of the IACP. And they encouraged me to go, and I felt like I was going to the lion's den. And quite frankly, the first two times I went, that's how it felt. I felt like I was in a place where I was not welcome, but I had made a commitment to love on them, and so I went. But this past time, I didn't go during the pandemic. I went back to Boston this year, October of 2024, and it felt like a family reunion, Nikki. I had so
Mm.
many, I had so many people coming up to me, people that I didn't even know, dozens of people that I never met, thanking me for the film, thanking me for the book, telling me how they changed their lives, thanking me for the work that the Love is the Answer movement is doing. And then I had dozens of people that I ran into that had become friends, police
Mhm.
chiefs and others from all over the country that we've been working with, that just felt like brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews. It felt like Ohana. And for the very first time, I felt, okay, we're making a difference here, and we need to keep it up. So that's
That's good.
that film is one of many products we have a book, we have workshops, we have webinars, we have classes. We're starting a TV series pretty soon called the Love is the Answer TV show, where we're going to get together with police and others in a community and bless a family in need. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. So when is that happening?
We're going to start shooting in May. We actually have a class coming up. One of our Lead and Serve with Love classes starts February 4th. All the people that have been through the first four cohorts of that class and the people that go through the fifth cohort will have an opportunity to be part of the cast and crew, and so they'll help make the episode happen. And we're going to find a family in need where I live in Howard County, Maryland, and we're going to bless a family together, police and community members working together to make some beautiful things happen in the community.
That's great news for 2025. You've got lots of great plans. I cannot wait to see that. Wow. So with your workshops, how can someone bring your workshops to their community? What do they need to do? There's certain stipulations placed on it. What needs to happen?
Hey, just reach out at our website, trylovenow.com. There's a form at the bottom of every page. If you want more information, if you want to get involved, if you want to bring us to your community, just fill that form out on the website. Take a look at the website and see, what's on there. And if something strikes you, like the TV series or the workshops or a class or anything, just put that in the message and send it, and we'll see that, and we'll have somebody reach out right away and start the process. We have people that we're working with in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and throughout the state of Michigan, Rochester, New York, Monroe County, New York, Howard County, Maryland, California, Texas, all over the country. The film has been shown in every state. We've had more than 300,000 people see the film already. It's one of the highest rated films of all time. And but we want to go deeper. We don't just want the film shown. We want to do those other things that really, really go deep in teaching people that thing that they usually don't learn in school. No one's taught. There's no class on how to love your neighbor in elementary school, middle school, high school, or college. I have yet to run into anyone who has told me, yeah, we had a semester long class on how to love your neighbor. Well, we're teaching that, right? We're teaching that now, and hopefully one day it'll be in the schools. But for now, yeah, if someone is interested in doing that, and I tell police all the time, take the lead on that, bring that into your department, and then offer that to the community to do it together, right? That's how healing can begin. That's how relationships can get stronger. That's how trust can get built, right? That's how people that have experienced trauma can experience healing. You know, it's not a weakness to sit in the room with somebody who is from the community and tell them you're sorry for how they've been treated. That's a strength. And guess what? They're going to love you back for that. The minute they realize that you care about them, they're gonna love you back, and it's gonna make it better for everyone.
I saw where you do these community projects, the mural painting projects, for example. Talk to
Yeah.
me about that and give me examples of what that's done for communities.
Oh my goodness. So one example is for about 4 years we worked closely with the district attorney in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Matt Weintraub. He's now a judge. And the whole time that he was the DA and we were working together, we showed the film and we had people in classes. And then the next step is, we tell people watch the film, read the book, and do the work, right? And so they watched the film together, police and community. They read the book together, and then we had them do things like community cleanups and mural painting. So in Bucks County, Pennsylvania now, there are 3 or 4 murals that that are spread out in different towns where school students and police and returning citizens and other people all got together and painted these absolutely beautiful murals. Some of them have our mascot, Kona the Love Dog, on them. Some have, Love is the Answer pledge on them. And in each community, it's different. We try to make it, of that community, so it has elements from that community. One example that I love the most probably is there's a white church and a black church in Arnold, Maryland, near the Naval Academy. And historically, one church is all white, and historically, one church is all black. They're the same denomination, and they're about a mile away from each other, and they weren't doing anything together. And so Greg Daniels, who's a member of the black church, he took the lead and reached out to members of the white church, same denomination, a mile apart, right? And said, "Hey, why don't we watch this film together?" And so they did that. And then after that, they got some books, Love is the Answer books, and they chose it as a book club selection, and they read the book together. And then there was a building at the black church that's right next to the road. And it was just a normal kind of storage shed kind of building. They all got together and painted a Love is the Answer mural on that building. A building right next to the road where hundreds of people drive by it every single day. And it's absolutely beautiful. Those two churches have been like this ever since. They're now one family. They go to each other's cookouts. They celebrate and mourn together. They're doing other things in the community together. They're helping young people come up and get to know each other and become ohana. You know, that's what it's all about. What if we could do that at thousands of churches who are black church here, white church here, a mile apart, same denomination, never talk to each other? What if we could do that? What we're doing is not about just police and black people. It's about people in general learning how to love their neighbor. That's what it's all about. The police, because they're featured in the film in, at the beginning at least, somewhat of a negative light, right? The police brutality side of things. But throughout the film, we share the stories of black and white peace officers who are doing the job the way it's supposed to be done. What if peace officers all over the country took the lead in bringing people together and teaching people how to love their neighbor? Nikki, do you think crime would go down?
I think crime would go down for sure.
Do you think public safety would go increase?
I do.
Do you think that
Do.
the mental health and emotional well-being of police officers would go up? Do you think the job would be more enjoyable? Do you think their families would benefit from that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can do nothing but help. And AJ, you gave me an opportunity to watch the film. And I want to say congratulations to you on what you did with that. And I won't spoil any of it for anyone, but I'll just say it was a job well done. And even watching the officers in the film express some of what was going on with them internal to the department that they were working for, those are real stories. Those are real things that are happening and very real experiences that are still being experienced today. So I would encourage officers to make sure they watch the film, that they get all of your resources, your books, that they learn about that LOVE acronym. I believe it's gonna pave the way for a turnaround, the turnaround that everyone's been looking for. That's just my opinion on it. But I would love to hear other opinions about it as well after people watch and read and listen. And I would encourage them to also take part into some of your workshops and bringing those to the community. But even those things like you just mentioned about the murals and and reading together and doing things together. That's how you bring people together. That's where we figure out that we are more alike than we are different. And that's really what it's all about. We're just human beings on this earth trying to share space. And so why not do it in a way that's safe and that's peaceful and to where we can help one another. Yeah. So I've enjoyed this and I've enjoyed learning more about your projects and what you have going on. Do you have any other information you'd like to share?
You know, um, I'll just say this. Um, for those who are skeptical,
Mm.
just try it. Just like our website says, right? Try love now. Just try it and see what happens. I had a California highway patrolman share with me after he read my book um, that, in his words, he told me, AJ, you saved my marriage.
Mm.
And that meant so much to me, because this is so much deeper than just what is going on a job. It's about healing families, healing communities, bringing people together. What he told me, that 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 was a generational difference that was made for that family, and that was the highest honor. So if anyone is skeptical about this thing called love, just try it. What's the worst thing that can happen if you do? And I'm always available if anyone wants to reach out. If you're nearby, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. Like my friend Robbie Williams says, the co-founder of Coffee with a Cop. Just sit down over a cup of coffee and share some time together. If you want to talk on the phone or do a Zoom or whatever, I'm here for you. And it doesn't have to be about business. At the end of the day, for me, it's not, can I get you into a class or a workshop? It's about, how can I help you um, through life? So if you ever want to reach out, I'm here. And I hope that, I'm a new Noble member. I absolutely love that. I love how they have embraced us. And I look forward to working with Noble members all over the country. And I'm really hoping that, a lot of Noble members uh, reach out, because if they don't, I'm gonna be reaching out to them one way or another. We're gonna talk, and hopefully we can do some good work together, and really kind of spark a wave of change throughout the country, because we need it. We need a more loving, empathetic, socially responsible country right now. And I can think of no better group to spark that change and lead that effort than the noble people of policing.
I
So
agree. I'm a member of that organization as well. So welcome to that organization. I don't
thank
think you're going to have any issues at all connecting and continuing to connect. I can see so many opportunities there, so many noble opportunities for you to get involved with all that you're doing. It's just a nice fit. And so I'm excited for what that's going to look like in the future.
yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's been my pleasure to have you. And I appreciate you joining me today and taking out time to chit chat with me about all that you have going on. So until next time, I will see you later. Be safe.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.